Welcome to Just Relationships, the show that offers you concrete ways to make your relationships better. Whether it's your boss, your spouse, your children, or your friends, the quality of your relationships in life directly affects how you feel about yourself and the success you achieve. Your host, Dr. Duffy Spencer, a psychotherapist, telecoach, author, and seminar leader, will interview top experts to help you learn to manage this essential part of your life. And now, here's your host, Dr. Duffy Spencer.
Greetings to you. Well, not everyone has children these days. Ideally, it's a choice to have a child or not. And people can feel free to have a child later on in life these days with all the modern science available to us. I am very, very pleased to introduce to you Dr. Frieda Birnbaum, who is the oldest mother at 60 of twins. You are a psychologist, you are a clinician, you are an author. The name of your book is Life Begins at 60, A New View on Motherhood, Marriage, and Reinventing Ourselves. And Dr. Frieda, you have such an optimistic view of how people can be in the world, especially women. And you broke all kinds of stereotypes, labels, barriers. You broke it all. And life begins at 60. We used to say life begins at 40. Life begins every day, right? We can reinvent ourselves every day. I think the first burning question people have is how come you did decide to have, turns out to be twins, but that you did decide to have a child at the age of 60?
That decision was mostly my husband's, that nobody interviews or talks to. They don't seem to care. But, and also men, it's important to know that men have had children later in life. And as we're living longer and with in vitro, it makes it just more acceptable, as you said, like in the 40s, because we are living much longer. More people are living into their 90s and even 100. So, and longevity is in my family. So, and I was going to do something that women should not do, not tell the truth about my age. So I was going to say I was 50, and 50 is becoming more acceptable now, in the mid 50s, having children. But women are not telling the truth about their age. And that's another reality, that if we all told the truth, we would know what age looks like today, because age is definitely not the same as it used to be. And we need to be comfortable with what that represents. Men definitely tell their age. And we look at it and say, okay, if you're vital, if you're energetic, if you have a passion for life, isn't that what really defines you? So we're so hooked on the numbers that when we look back 10 years ago, we say, hey, we weren't that old. So we have to really establish a pattern, excuse me, of what that means. I wrote a book years ago, What Price Power, about women and what power means, and what identifies them in their relationships, socially and whatever. Excuse me. And it's the same thing. It's really about who you are. What do you want? I've always been sort of 10 years ahead of my time, only because I had no choice. There was nobody else there. I always had a stigma. When I went to work in my career as a psychologist for my PhD, it was mostly men at that time, male-oriented career. I was looked down at. What kind of mother could I be? What am I doing? What are my values? What are my standards? My children are wonderful. I'm so blessed to have them. They're professionals, caring people. And so you have to really know that where you are doesn't mean that's where you're stuck. So it's not about the babies, really. I've been writing and doing research forever. I've been in practice for 30-some years, 33 years, helping people stay together, having children, careers, making more money if that's what they need. So that's always been my emphasis. So this sort of hit a nerve. I think the number 6, if I were 59 or 58, maybe. I mean, who was the one, Good Morning America, that had twins in her late 50s? Joan something or other.
Was
I
it
just
Joan London?
Yes, right.
Uh-huh.
She had two sets of twins in her late 50s. And, no big deal. But when we're looking at really our comfort level and what society is expecting of us, we're changing. Women are changing as they become more powerful. And so my book, What Price Power, was about how does a relationship change? They're more respected. In the midst of it, men, they often get divorced because you marry a person for certain reasons. But if it endures, women have a voice socially, financially, with the family, whatever that is. So that's really where we're going. And life begins at any age, you're right. It doesn't have to be at 60. The reason I said 60 was because to tell women that 60 doesn't mean it's over. 60 can be exciting. Aside from the twins, 60, aren't you glad you asked me this? 60, 60 was a wonderful, exciting time for me. Better than ever. I felt better. I think I looked better than ever. I just wanted to give the message that, yes, life is wonderful every time, but don't fear that 60 is not the same in every way as your lifestyle, your choices, careers, relationships. You can dye your hair green if you want to, whatever it is you want to do. You can be that person and don't look and see what somebody else thinks of you. Because the problem often is that person who's most critical is that person who's the most vulnerable about themselves and wondering what choices they made.
That is so well put, Dr. Frieda Birnbaum. The person who's most critical is usually most vulnerable about their own sense of their own shortcomings. And in my clinical practice, I say the same thing to people in terms of dealing with people who are even mean, more than difficult, even mean and cutting and judgmental and obstreperous and aggressive and verbally attacking, that these are people who are really hurting and they don't have very good skills. They cannot communicate well and they don't know how to resolve conflict.
Yes.
So they either say nothing or they burst out in venom. And really remembering that, I love that. The most critical people are the most vulnerable people. And
I'm going to interrupt you.
Yes.
I'm going to interrupt you and tell you that my research showed that the women that were most manipulative and critical were the least accomplished. So they had to be competitive to prove themselves. And nobody, I don't know what happened to my voice this morning, but nobody really asked my husband what school he went to, how much money he's making, any of these backgrounds. Women are always asking me these questions. They're always questioning my credibility. And women do themselves a disservice because of that. Because if you can't support people that have something in common with you, you're not supporting your own identity. So that's extremely important when you're looking at what it is that's making you uncomfortable. So as I said, I've always been criticized. And so I must have been doing the right thing. Always. I mean, I got off the elevator from my apartment. Someone said, I would never go back to school and have children. Well, today, like what else is new? At that time, they were judged critically. There was dependency issues. Women depended on their husbands. They weren't educated. Today, because of in vitro, women are more educated, can have children later, not as late as me, but I'm just saying, into their 40s or even 50s today.
Yes, yes. So what you're talking about, Dr. Frieda Birnbaum, is bursting through all stereotypes, all labels, all prejudgments, otherwise known as prejudices, age concepts, and I love how you open the show, the whole concept of not being ashamed of our age. That, never ask a woman her age. And I think that you can judge me on my character, You can judge me on my behavior, but you cannot judge me on the length of time I have been on this planet. I find that to be so bizarre. And people do this all the time because of the stereotypes. And then there can be a reversal on the other end, is people who perhaps look younger than their years and brag about it, say, yeah, this is how old I am. And so we see the traditional trend, and then we see the counter trend. And then people say, well, age is just a number. Yet I do find that as I get older, I have less energy. And now you already had children when you gave birth to your twins, your male twins, at the age of 60. Now you are 70.
76.
You're 76, and your boys are teenagers, and your older children are consummate professionals. There's so much here that people are interested in understanding, Dr. Frieda. You almost always you basically have two sets of two sets of children. And you had written in your book about how the older children really did not accept the twins until later on in life. Tell us about all this.
First of all, just to go back a little bit, today, as women are getting older, they really have the whole package. They have the ability to see things clearer and to be focused on who they are and what they want. And physically, they're not falling apart. So they're really different than our mother's age. When my mother was 40, she miscarried on purpose because it would be a disgrace for the neighbors to know that she would have a child. And so she miscarried. So we're going through different decades of our lives and what that means. But today, women, when you look at a 30-year-old, great. But when you look at a 60-year-old and who's somebody who is presenting herself with energy, with character, with the ability to have answers and not be self-conscious about herself, doesn't that really outweigh everything? So a perfect face, what do they have on? Now they have these filters where they show these perfect faces. And I look at that and I say, who wants that? It's robotic. It doesn't have character. Would I want to be with somebody that has a perfect look? Not really. I want to be with somebody who's expressive. I want to be with somebody who is able to handle themselves. I think confidence is very sexy. I think women in Europe are really appreciated for being older and having younger men. And things are really changing. And, by the way, on the billboards now, you're beginning to see older women with younger men. Why is that? Well, women are making the money. They're buying the products. They want to appeal to them. But more than that, it's not the grandma, the bubby that used to be. When I was a child, I would look at women and say, if they didn't wear those grandma shoes, they wouldn't look so old, or those house dresses. Well, I'm wearing stretch pants and I'm wearing whatever anybody else wears and living my life accordingly. So as we're living longer, younger, we're also able to make more of a difference to other people and helping them structure themselves. I'm looking at a show today. We're looking at a show, hopefully, about being practical, because the romantic stage is 3 years and having a loving relationship is wonderful. But what happens when you have to face dilemmas? And what happens when you have to make choices about in-laws or anything else that runs your life, money, whatever? So here I am, somebody who's experienced it, and somebody can know how to guide these people. So when I talk to people in my practice, I could be talking to millions at one time, because it's really people are going through stages, and those stages of feeling that you have to do this and rather than you want to and not relax is sad. So I've been doing that, and I've also been interviewing people about discrimination, to almost 3 million people, with Al Corlin as and his host, the Al Corlin show with Dr. Frieda, and also the same thing with discrimination. There's sort of a set of rules. If a young man has a heritage of African American or whatever, right away there's a pattern of rules that should not be set. They don't necessarily have generalized characteristics of everybody else in society. So we have to look at people individually. You have to look at women individually. Who are they? Where are they in their lives? I can testify to you right now. I am more excited, and I get more excited about my life than ever. So everybody who says, it slows down, not for me. I have more to offer than before. So I'm going to answer your question, but I just wanted to get that out because when we're looking at where we are in our lives and who we are, women have the whole package. They look great. They have the confidence, and they're able to know what is good and what is not good, what is right and what is wrong. So in the best place ever. I wasn't in this place when I was in my 30s. Mm-hmm. I wasn't in this place when I was in my 40s. I felt something was missing. I didn't feel having a family identified me enough. I did all this. I went to college. I did all this to be a mother and to mold other people. Great. That's an honor. But what else was there? Something was missing. So that's what the message I'm really giving is: when you get older, you know what's missing. I received my PhD when I was 46 years old. I was accepted to Columbia University for graduate school in psychology when I was 35 years old. So I did it later. And the message is you can do it later because we're living longer to get it in. Now your question. Yes.
Well, I don't remember what my question was. Everything you're saying, of course, I agree with. And the idea of having so many more choices. And I, too, am so much happier now than I ever was. I think I look just as good. I mean,
you look great.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, it's true. It's women at a certain age look ageless. They can. Yes. They just look ageless. It's not what it used to be. So you look great, and looking great and feeling great. Then where does age come into it, really? So we have to change what age means. And by the way, we have to even change what the middle age is. Middle age should be called peak age, because middle age is like you go up and then you go down. It's like, middle age, where am I going now? I'm going down. No, it's peak age. It's the best time, really.
Oh, I love that. We used to use the term prime, right? The prime of our life, but peak ages. So what would peak ages be?
Well, it's the best. It's the best time. You can do anything. You can have children. You can go ahead and you can change relationships. You can have a new career. All these things in middle age that you didn't have the insight or confidence, or you were guided in the wrong direction. And sometimes as children, we're told, oh, no, this is what you're supposed to do. But really in your heart, you want something else. So then you get married, then you raise a family, then all these things keep coming in that you need to have to do. And then as you get older, you really go back. Most people go back to what their initial joy was, and they really reinvent themselves. And that's another word, instead of retiring, reinventing yourself to a career that you always wanted anyway. I just don't see that there should be any limits or boundaries.
No limits or boundaries. You are so inspirational, Dr. Frieda Birnbaum. Wow. And so this is Dr. Duffy Spencer. We are Just Relationships, WHPC. I am interviewing Dr. Frieda Birnbaum, the author of Life Begins at 60, a new view on motherhood, marriage, and reinventing ourselves. And I love the title of your other book, What Price Power? And you have written other books besides those?
Well, right now I'm writing a book about shattering the mold, about defying the odds about who you're supposed to be and what you're supposed to be. And I never really had people in front of me. Even Gloria Steinem said she wished she had children and the career that she had. So there was no reason that women who have not done everything have a void in their lives, and they're always looking for what's missing. And so when we're looking at what's missing in our lives, we have to go back to who we really were originally. I can tell you one thing. In the school system, women are all ages. They're not 20 anymore. They're not even in their 30s. They're in their 40s, 50s with little kids. So
and look at flight attendants. Remember when they had to be a certain look, certain weight, and a certain age? That's
right. Today, it's different. So nobody even questioned my age when they were in school. No one ever said anything to me about who I am. I was their mother, and they knew it before they knew me. I was with the boys. So, oh, your kids are coming out, or whatever there is. So it's changing. It's changing that women in their 50s now are having children. They're not being questioned. They're not being criticized, and they don't look really that old. They don't look that different. And so you can always go back to who you were and what you wanted, because you have more to offer now than you ever had in the past.
Yeah. And as a person, social psychologist, and having taught sociology on the college level for many, many years, I always lectured about how we, if a woman is in menopause, she still has at least 30, 40 more years to live. And even if a woman goes traditional and holds her last child's hand until her last child is 21, she still has 30, 40 years to figure out what to do with the rest of her life. Freud said biology is destiny. And we now know that we can live, as you say, so much longer. I love that, living longer, younger. I love that phrase, Dr. Frieda, so that even if we follow the traditional script, we still have 30, 40 years to figure out what to do with the rest of our lives.
Absolutely.
And it is just wonderful.
And who wants to retire, at an age when you have so much to give? You're being a mentor to other people, and you have more. You can make more of a difference than ever. That's when you retire. It makes no sense at all. Maybe when I'm 80, maybe when I'm 85, I'll retire if that's what I want to do. But so what really makes sense is that when you have the whole package that I have now, that I never had, I never would have been this comfortable talking to you. I would have had notes. Matter of fact, I had notes, but I put them away. But, it's a release and a relief that you can not have to look at other people. When I went to Toastmasters years ago, and the first time I stood up in Toastmasters, I said, oh my God, look at her. She hates me. Oh, look at that. He's being critical of me before I even spoke.
Yes.
Now I have no idea what I've spoken to so many people, and it's as if I'm connecting to me. I'm connecting to what I'm saying. I'm connecting to what I have to give. I'm not the self-conscious person of needing to be accepted anymore. That's a release of freedom for sure.
Yes. If we become wiser as we age, and a lot of people don't necessarily become wiser as they age, but you did, I did, many people do. So what would you say is the difference?
Curiosity. A curiosity about life. I'm always reading, wanting to share what you know, knowing that you can make a difference, using what it is that you have, because you feel empty if you don't. All these urges, these needs. I mean, I tried staying home, putting on my sweats and saying, let me see what that feels like. I'm going to go shopping for food. I'm going to go make dinner. I'm going to take the groceries, put it away. I said, this is it? The end of the day, this is what I did the whole day. No, it's horrible. You have these days that you can use them, take it. Not everyone has that. You can celebrate that you can make that kind of choices for yourself. So actually, let's go out there and do your thing and feel that at the end of the day, I did something. I went in a direction. I don't see anything yet, but it's one step towards where I want to be. And when you think about that, that's going to fill you up. Don't feel that you have to fit into any kind of time slot or any kind of expectations, even from your family. Even from your family. My father said to me, don't go into the media. You won't know what to say. You know what I'm saying? This is what he's telling me. I didn't listen to him.
Wow.
You have to be careful who's telling you what.
Wow. And as you're talking, Dr. Frieda Birnbaum, I'm thinking about some of my clients, single women in their early 30s who are really sweating because they have not found the right person for themselves. And they do feel up against the biological clock, and it's putting a great strain and stress on their lives. And they are accomplished people. They have wonderful careers. And yet when it comes to their personal lives, they can't find a man that they really would trust, who has character, who would be consistent, who is reasonably healthy in our neurotic world. So what would you say to them?
First of all, what is it that they have a big void about? When you look back at your childhood experiences, you have to be able to know that you're complete, that you're full, that you've had the kind of relationships you need. Sometimes that missing link creates an urgency and a neediness that could push other people away from you. You have to be able to find that source of contentment. Often fathers who are role models, who have controlled their mothers, maybe there's a hidden fear, so they're being extra critical of the people that they meet. Often pathology, gets in the way of our rest of our lives.
And I had to interrupt you, Dr. Frieda, and I apologize. I asked you a very deep question 1 minute before we were ending.
Oh, okay.
The good news for everyone is that Dr. Frieda is coming back next week.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you so much, Dr. Frieda Birnbaum. Tune in, everyone, next week for part 2 of Life Begins at 60 with Dr. Frieda Birnbaum. And this is Dr. Duffy Spencer saying goodbye for now and wishing you great relationships.